Yeah.
That's where we are?
Literally.
Utah Airguns.
We're literally at Utah Airguns.
And I can see animals up there.
This is such a big tease. The first time I came here, I was like, ooh, where'd you kill that? Where'd you kill that? Yeah. Oh, where'd you go hunt that? I want to go hunt that. And then I found out the secret. I won't give it away, but it's
secret.
They weren't all hunted by air guns. I thought for sure they were.
What I think is there should be a little QR code that tells you the magnificent story.
What we should do is we should go hunt all these animals with air guns on American Airgunner, and then when you hit the QR code, it takes you to that episode, and you can watch the episode right there on your phone.
That is genius.
I like it.
That's genius right there.
Now just let me know where I can hunt all this stuff.
Rossi Morreale with the awesome ideas.
Yes.
Super awesome.
That's what I do. I'm an ideas guy.
So here's a question for you, though.
Okay.
How did you get into the business side of the airgun industry?
It's a very long and drawn out story, but the airgun industry actually saved my life. I was doing TV shows, right? I again, went to Arkansas, played football, graduated, moved out to California on vacation, never left, stumbled on TV, became the host of Junkyard Wars. Used to be on TLC. And that was that started kind of my life. I was kind of letting the wind blow me around, and God kind of opened up doors and ended up in the TV world. No training, no nothing, that's where the wind blew me. So for like 8 years, it was Junkyard Wars, it was Riding with Rossi, Belly of the Beast on the Discovery Channel, started doing ABC shows, did Dated in the Dark, was on Extra, doing all the junkets and red carpets for all the Avenger movies and all the, you name it. I've met and introduced in sports shows and all-star games. I was doing a sports show where I went to every all-star game, WrestleMania, in the locker room, Michael Jordan's last game, smacked him on the ass, probably one of the great. He walked by, I was like, good game, Mike. Just as, like it was my own ass. It was right here too, and literally I was like, good game, Mike, and he just walked by and didn't say a thing, and then Allen Iverson came by, I'm like, what's up, Allen? It was awesome. And so around 2010, so this is around 2001, so up to 2010, at that point I'm on TV 7 days a week. I've got a syndicated game show called Temptation. I'm doing Can You Duet on CMT, which is a duet competition show, kind of like American Idol, but for country duos. And then I was doing the weekend show on Extra. So literally it was on TV 7 days a week. Life is going good. I'm cruising. I've been one of people's sexiest men alive, and I'm like, this is so easy. Like, I'm from Arkansas. Like,
right next to
Hollywood is so simple. And then I met my wife in Tennessee on that show, on Can You Duet. So I used to always pray and be like, God, like, I don't need to be on TV. I don't need it. But if this is the direction you want me to go, like great. But like, I just want to make sure we're clear. Like, I want to make sure I'm not chasing some thing that like I need that I don't want to need, really. And so, but things like that kept happening. So then I meet my wife on the show, and it's like, okay, well, so I'm on the right path, right? Yeah. You start to think that way. And so then she moved from Tennessee because she was a country singer. And then she ended up moving to California. And I said, listen, it's going to be tough for you because you've been doing this, but you won't have to get a job. You'll have to, things are going well, so you can kind of like get settled here and find your next passion. And boy, from my lips to God's ears, I did not work for a year. Like, every show got canceled, everything just like ended. And I was like, huh. And this show, American Airgunner, I knew the producer of this show, or the director of this show, went to my church with my family back home in Arkansas. And Umarex and Justin Biddle were the executive producers, which is also in Fort Smith, Arkansas, which is where I'm from. So I ran into the director there when I was at church, just back home with my family, went to church, saw him. He's like, hey, dude, you still out there in California hosting shows? I was like, yeah. He's like, we've got this show we're working on. It went good. Now we're not going to do anymore, but I think you could be a great host for it. Next thing you know, I auditioned for it, and I meet JB, and I start shooting guns, and because JB wasn't sure, he thought I was some California boy like this, and then Mike's like, dude, he's from Arkansas, like, he shoots guns. He's like, I don't believe it. He's gonna have to come out, and we're gonna have to test him, And so I did that, and ended up getting the show for American Airgunner as the host. But that was right before everything ended, right? So there was a lot going on, so I was like, listen, you're gonna have to work around my schedule, like, I'm real busy, like, because I was gonna have to go on hunts and go on these things. And so we made this schedule. It was like, it was 13 episodes, 3 days, so it ended up being 35 days of shooting over the year, and in second position, right? So like, anything else that came up, they would have to change things around. And I did this show for about a year within all that other chaos, and then it all, like I said, all that fell apart, and it was just American American Airgunner. And it just kind of kept me afloat while I was kind of, because I was kind of like, oh, I've got this little thing, but like I need the Hollywood show, big money, whatever, glam, glitz, all that stuff. And this just kind of all lingered, and it just kind of continued. And then I picked up a show on the Food Network. I did Halloween Wars, and so that kind of like got me back up, and then things kind of started. And then it all kind of. Then I had my first kid, and it was like it all died again. I was like, oh my gosh, like marriage and then kid, like God, what are we doing here? Like these are the most stressful times of my life.
Right.
Of course, looking back, best times of my life. Had a year of my marriage to like really dial in that relationship. Had the whole, like had 9 months of my, right before my first kid was born, Stella, a little girl, I had just shot a pilot with Rachel Ray for this show that was guaranteed going to pick up, and I had 3 other shows in the hopper that were like all looking good. And I worked up until I was busy again. I worked up until she was going to be born in May. I worked up until May 14th. She ended up being born May 21st, and I was going to take all of May and all of June off to be with the baby, and then July was going to start this, and I was going to be on the road and off again. And nothing got picked up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like here we go again, right? And there's still just like this American Airgunner like lingering along. So this is 2014 now. And so I go that whole year and am just with my kid. So from May through the end of December. And the last...
Isn't that amazing?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So few people get that opportunity.
And I mean, I'm just there. I experienced the first steps and the talking, I mean, all of it.
Especially as a dad.
Yeah, because we miss a lot in the pregnancy stuff, for sure.
Yep.
So then that December it was a 1-week shoot, and we shot the whole season of the Halloween Wars. And so like I'd been living off my savings, that filled back up all the savings. I'm like, okay, God. I get like, what am I supposed to learn, right? It's always like, whoa, it's not woe is me. It's like, what is my path here? What am I supposed to learn? What am I supposed to get out of this? What are you prepping me for? And that's kind of how I've always looked at everything. And at this point, I've been through that world like this, and so I wasn't shaken. Faith is strong, but just kind of like, what's next? Where are we going? And then American Airgunner picks up. I'm still kind of chasing the thing. And then around 2000, I started trying to sell shows. I wanted to sell a TV show and create my own show and host it, do all this stuff, and probably pitched 200 shows, nothing. And all of a sudden, it was like one day, it just like dawns on me, like, American Airgunners right here, like I've got it, I've been doing it, I'm in this industry, I know these people, like why not do something with it? And I talked to JB and I'm like, I want to take over American Airgunner. He's like, okay, and then boom, we take it from one show on the Pursuit channel. Now we moved it up to the Sportsman's channel. Now I spin off the other show, do the Airgunner Challenge on the Outdoor channel. Now I've got 2 shows, all the sponsoring. I've talked to every manufacturer. They jump on board, and it's kind of like I take the airgun industry on my back, and I'm like, I'm going to go grow this thing and try to get it out in the mainstream. And like all of a sudden, and all the things I want to do, all the dreams I was trying to get going in the Hollywood world, kind of come true in like something that I genuinely love: being outdoors, hunting, fishing, just being a part of shooting sports and outdoor sports, and just this kind of like the outdoor industry is really what I'm geared for. I mean, I've done dating shows and fashion shows and also, and like it's fun because I'm malleable. I mean, you can drop me anywhere and I can get along with everybody and have fun with it. But this is where my heart lives. Being in Arkansas, I mean, if I could spin this into a motorcycle show and a fishing show, like dreams are just continually coming true. And so that essentially, because I used to just pop in these events, hey, how you doing? Shoot, hey, do the camera thing, and then be out. And once I took over the show, I was now on the backside. And that changed everything, and is how I got to answer your question an hour ago, how I got to the business side of air guns. And I still know, I mean, everyone knows, like, I love guns, I love to shoot guns, I get excited about guns, I love to blow things up. I don't know that much about any guns. I've learned a lot about air guns, I understand different things, but I mean, you put like an M3 in my hands, and I mean, it looks like a rocket ship to me, right? And so I'm still learning, and I think that's good for me along the lines, because I'm still learning along with the audience. I'm not too good for them. I don't know everything. I like to talk to guys like you that do know a lot about this stuff, that have helped me out in the past, and have you guys explain to me what's going on. And because I think that's what the air gun world needs, because we have to understand, we're all here and we know about air guns and it's a big thing and all the experts are here in one place, but the other millions of air guns that are there and the millions of air guns that are coming, like you got to still understand, in my mind, I think we're still talking to 10% of the world, or the United States, we'll call it. The wave that's coming knows nothing about this, and I want to keep American Airgunner where we can pick them up with no knowledge and we can take them all the way up to the expert level, because there's so many guys out there that do great stuff on YouTube, what have you. But I mean, it's above my head, and so if you're just getting into it, it's almost like you scare people off, and you don't want to come into a sport being like, I got to know all this to even show. It's like no. There are plenty of cheap guns, easy guns, simple guns. Just grab a gun and come on, let's get started, and then learn about these super high tech. I mean, because some of these guns are just works of art. I mean, they're absolute masterpieces of technology and engineering. It's crazy. But that's not what air guns are. That's not everything that air guns are. That's just one section of it. So we can cover from CO2 guns all the way up to experts and everything in between, hunting, spear fishing or bow hunting, whatever. I mean, we have so many different options with air guns. You can train with them. You can shoot them indoors. You kids, new shooters, women, young men, whatever it is. You can bring anyone up to air guns, and then you eventually can get to the place that a lot of these guys just kind of live at. But I always remind people we can't forget about those new shooters, because 5 years from now, there's gonna be way more new shooters here than there's gonna be us. And we're gonna be the weirdos. They're like, oh yeah, the techie nerd over there, like I'll kick his ass with an Air Arms S510. You're like, what? That's not, you can't even adjust. It's like, doesn't matter. Like I can read the wind. You're like, yeah, I mean, we're going to get educated as this keeps going, as new shooters come on and think like, well, wait a minute, you guys have been doing this. What if you just did this? And we're going to go, great idea. I don't know why we didn't think of it. So we're trying to keep American Airgunner that way.
What advice do you have for somebody new coming into the industry side of things?
It's a lot friendlier than it seems. You just grab a gun and come on. You could walk through those doors right now and not know a single person and leave here with 20 new best friends that will text you, email you, answer any question you have, help you set up your gun, tell you the feet per second, what slug's best, what pellet's best, grain weight, I mean, diameter, if you're talking different slugs. I mean, they will sort you out. And you don't even really have to ask. It's one of those industries that, because when I walked into it, it seemed like everyone was such a know-it-all that it's intimidating. And then I found out the more questions I asked or the more people I started talking to, it's the opposite. It just appears that way because I was intimidated because a lack of knowledge. And that's what people do. Ignorance is ignorance, right? When you don't know about something, it intimidates you. The more you learn about it, or the more someone explains it to you or dumbs it down for you or helps you understand how easy it can be, it's less intimidating. But this is an industry that anyone can do it. Beginner shooters, little shooters, from kids to 90-year-old people can participate in this sport and be a part of it. And believe this, even women. I know, it's crazy. You don't see many of them on around in the YouTubes and the things, but there's a lot of women. There are more growing women in the sport. We're trying to bring more women to American Airgunner with Abby Casey and Natalie Radzwilla and a lot of different huntresses we're trying to bring on our show to just make it, we want everyone to be able to see someone they can relate to on American Airgunner to make it less intimidating. So just don't be intimidated. It's fun, it's exciting, and you would not believe what air guns can do once you get your hands on them.
Where do you see things in 5 years?
I see us being able to hunt big game in all 50 states. I believe we'll eventually have our own hunting season, or at least be a part of the black powder season, which I think will open up to 40 million hunters, which is when you'll walk in these doors and you won't recognize, you have to find someone you know. You'll be like, PJ, Chris, Jimmy, and I mean, like, it'll just be packed full of new shooters wanting to figure out what's going on. I also believe that you'll see a national competition of shooting sports. It won't just be like the big three anymore. We're actually working with a couple different groups to try to take kind of what RMAC is, dumb down a little bit, pick 2 events, and then make that cookie cutter so we can rinse and repeat and take it around the country. And hopefully in 5 years that's done. So our goal, our sole goal for American Airgunner is to spread the word and to introduce air guns to new shooters. And that's kind of it. We think the best way to do that is through hunting. There's a lot more hunters than there are competitive shooters.
Yep.
But I do think competition is the way that you're going to get a lot more shooters involved because everybody loves competition. I mean, that's what the Airgunner Challenge is all about. It's fun to watch shooting competitions, and you can never script how one pellet beats the other pellet by like this fast, and you see the two targets go like that, and you're just like, oh my gosh! Like, I mean, like you're on the edge of your seat, and it's like, it drives you crazy, and you find yourself like, these are pellet guns, like what am I doing? But it just, it brings out, I get the chills thinking about some of the competitions that we've got even coming up this season.
When you get to sit down next to somebody.
Yeah.
And it's you and I.
Yes.
And who's gonna get them all first?
Yes. I
it
constantly panic
right
and I mess up every time. Even though I literally create these challenges, every time I sit down, I'm like, oh my gosh, and I will forget the safety. I will put my magazine in. It never fails. I make fun of contestants all the time. I'm like, oh, how'd you not remember the safety? And then I get there and I'm like, oh, the safety. Safety. It's always a safety or an O-ring every single time. So
you
yeah,
gotta set your magazine down just the right way,
know.
So it comes up and in.
And then like, it's so funny though, right? You'll sit down next to somebody, and it's like, okay, we've got the exact same equipment, right? So like, this should be pretty close. Like, you're not magic. I have arms and legs. Like, this should be, I'm a shooter. And then like, I'll open my magazine, I'll start putting in pellet by pellet, and someone will go, they'll dump pellets and like shake it, and I'm like, nope, he's magic. Like, he was actually magic. Like, I didn't. But here's what I'm learning more and more. You will not be surprised what you can learn by practicing and playing with your gun and getting to know your gun and your pellets and your magazine and all this stuff. I recently found a quote that I have been living by. I've been sending it to my like nieces and nephews, and it's, don't be disappointed in the results that you never applied yourself to get. Right? And it just comes down to, if you don't, you can't get mad. It's like when you go play golf. Like, I never play golf, but when I go play, I'm so angry that I slice the ball, right? Why? Like, I don't ever practice. So when I come here, I don't expect to win anything because I have not put the time in. There are shooters here that have put more time in yesterday shooting their gun than I put in this year shooting my gun. So it's like, I can't ever be disappointed in the results that I don't get by not putting in the effort, right? But at the same time, this is the most fun experience that I would come here and get my ass kicked over and over and over again just to be a part of it.
And there aren't a whole lot of people who are gonna have more fun than you here.
That's no doubt. And this is fun. You guys probably don't know this. I'll give you a little inside tip. You would not believe the number of people that love to tell me how they beat me in every competition. And I'm always like, man, I did my best. Like, good for you. Like, I want to build them up. And if that's something they can take away, be like, I beat Rossi. Like, I am not a great shooter unless you say, hey, let's throw up a quarter and see if you can hit it first. Hands down, I'll beat you. Hands down, I will beat you every time. If it's a random shot with a random gun at a random target, I am nails. If I have to do that twice in a row, never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. So that's, but I love that. I love to like build up these young shooters. They're like, I got you, and I'm like, good for you, man. Like, tough go.
Remember, this is the day that you beat Rossi.
Yeah. So I like to give it to them. Again, if you're on TV, you're an expert. I will remind you all, I am no expert. I just love to shoot, and I'm super fun. That's really where it dies.
Well, Rossi, I want to thank you for taking the time today, man.
My pleasure.
So good to see you.
Always good to see you, buddy. Yeah.
Take
Thanks,
care,
man. And good luck.
I appreciate it.
I hope you beat me.
He's going down.
There's no chance. Not him.